Recording in progress. Testing, testing. I should be showing my screen. So this is my proposal for the Detention Facility Accountability. It says act, but in the city of St. Louis, it'll be a bill proposal until it turns into an ordinance. Just learned all that for people who learn about how the government works. Purpose of this proposal. Detention Facility Accountability and Community Reinvestment Act. The purpose, the bill aims to establish accountability in detention facilities and promote community reinvestment through evidence-based practice. I ain't gonna read all of this word for word, but the purpose is to make the board run smoothly, have efficient communication with the city jail commissioner, um, have transparency with what's going on in the jail. And I'll break down what transparency means as far as what's going on in their budget and how they spending this money. When we talk about community reinvestment, a lot of money being made by private vendors who get contracted through the city jail, that they're going to take all that money from inmates within the jail. They should have a responsibility as part of their contract to reinvest some of that into reducing recidivism, not only for all the benefits it has within the community, but obviously it saves taxpayer money as well for the state of Missouri. So it's a lot of things this bill is going to touch. It serves as a violence prevention and recidivism reduction program because obviously 90% of people who commit crimes are young men, violent crimes that is. Um, and there's a lot of reasons that we can get into because of that, but uh, we want to institute programs in which inmates within the jail have access to educational programs and access to religious services, among other things. And when people are educated and employed and in tune with their higher self, they tend to be less violent. You know, desperate people make desperate decisions, and hurt people hurt people. So let's start healing. You know, they call it correction. So what are we correcting? Let's stop traumatizing people within the jail and start trying to heal people within the jail. And when they go back into the community, we'll see the effect it has, reducing recidivism. Obviously, you know, it's common sense what that does for, you know, to uplift the community. Um, but as far as numbers go, it saves the state of Missouri money. Uh, right now, there's lawsuits, pending lawsuits, and probably future lawsuits against the city jail because of all the misconduct that's going on in there. This will help save the city money. Y'all stop getting sued. Vendor profit reinvestment. We're gonna get into that and the allocation of their commissions. Um, this bill in the long run is going to allow for us to have more transparency with the budget of the jail and the contracts that they're giving for these private vendors to sell phone minutes and sell commissary and charge processing fees, putting money on your people's books and all that. That's a lot of money being made, and these commissions technically are already supposed to go back into, you know, providing services to people that's locked up in the jail, but it ain't really going to do that. So what we need is more transparency. So in order to do that, we're going to establish a fund that these commissions go to specifically just for that fund, and we're going to have a person in charge of overseeing that fund with full transparency to the public and to the board of exactly how much money is in it and exactly what is getting spent on. Um, and this person will be a liaison for Oversight Board, and it will be directly impacted person or people. If we decide it needs to be multiple people, we also want to expand the authority of the oversight board to be able to do these type of things. As it stands right now, the board's authority is limited. They've been operating for what 3 years now, and they ain't even been able to do one single investigation. So we're going to expand the authority of the board, um, and we'll discuss that further. Private companies that contracted by the city jail should be required as part of their agreement to enter into a community benefit agreement. Um, what this community benefit agreement will establish is, listen, if y'all finna take all this money from the most vulnerable parts of our population, not just the inmates, but their friends and family who put money on their books, y'all should be required to reinvest some of that back into reentry programs. And we can get into further what these reentry programs are and break that down. Uh, uh, and we can determine, how much of the profits from these companies should be reinvested. Once we look at the contracts and exactly how much revenue they're generating, and how much profit they're generating, we could talk about, you know, how much money will be generated every year, um, for this fund. We can call it the let's call it the prisoner benefit fund. What up, Yeah, what's the word? Not much, man. Up here putting this little presentation together, practicing my Zoom, me and practicing my Zoom meeting skills, man. I'm trying to I got this bill proposal. I'm a pitch to the aldermen, man, about what's going on in the city jail. So I'm just up here practicing my Zoom skills and stuff like that. Oh, this was up. Hey, do you still got your place, or you back with your mom? Now I got my spot. So you still got your spot? Yeah. Oh shit, you ain't gone that long, huh? Yeah, a couple months, man. I had my little brother staying here for a minute, taking care of it while I was gone. He was supposed to pay the rent. That nigga ain't even pay the rent. That's the whole point. I had him in here. I got to catch up with that. All right. So on the serious note, the rap, what's going on about coming to work, man? Man, I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna call you when I get home. Can you start tomorrow morning? Yeah. All right, answer the phone. I'm gonna call you when I get home. Let's go over the logistics. Bet. All right, bet. I should be home in the next 45 minutes. I bet. All right, one. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna edit that part out. But yeah, so the community's gonna monitor the board is gonna monitor, how much money is in this fund, make sure it's going towards the benefit of people that's in the jail. We can call it the I don't know, inmate benefit fund. I don't even like calling people inmates, but we'll figure it out. Convict. We ain't gonna do all that. Allocation of commissions. We talked about that. We're gonna create a fund strictly for coming from all commissions from vendor contracts must be deposited into a restricted fund for specific uses. These specific uses will include educational programs, access to religious services, a law library. Right now, we only have access to a law library in there. You know what I'm saying? That's ridiculous. People can't even help try to litigate their case. It's people that have been in there for months. You ask them, what's going on. They ain't even got their discovery. They don't even know what the discovery is. They're sitting in there for months. Ain't no communication with the lawyer for real. Y'all know how that be going. You know what I'm saying? They barely want to give you mail. Lawyer try to send you some mail, you might not even get it. We ain't gonna lie. We could get off in all that. Jail conditions and improvements. We're gonna have some liaisons to go in there, not only clean up a little bit, because right now, I don't know how many of y'all been through that intake process, but it's filthy. Some of these bullpens they have you in, people sleeping on the floors for days and even weeks, sitting in these bullpens, and they don't even clean them like they supposed to. We can go in there, clean up, have a person go in there, monitor the mail room, make sure people getting their mail, monitor what's going on in the pod, make sure everything going how it's supposed to go, monitor what's going on with the medical services, make sure people getting proper medical care. We should have liaisons that directly impact the people to be in these facilities and be liaisons for the oversight board. And they should be paid fair wages to be able to do it. And this money can come from this fund that we're talking about, because there's way too much money being made by these commissary companies and telephone companies for directly impacted people not to be able to get paid to do what they should be doing. For the Defense Facilities Oversight Board to be able to do what it needs to do. And we can talk about their budget, but we have to have directly impacted people involved in that process, because of course they're the ones that know what's going on in there and exactly what the problems and the solutions to those problems are. And effective communication is dependent upon directly impacted people being liaisons between actually what's going on in these pods and the board. Not just the pods, but like I said, the mail room, medical, all that. On the public defender's office, all that. Expansion of oversight board authority. The board already is supposed to have power to investigate grievances regarding jail conditions, conduct inspections, etc. But as of right now, not one criminal investigation has happened after 3 years. So let's reinforce that. I mean, coordinators. Directly impacted individuals are responsible for facilitating communication between detainees, dorm reps, and the board, and collecting information for full transparency. Call them coordinators, liaisons, whatever you want to call them. And once, an investigation is actually done, whether it's a particular complaint from a detainee or whether it's just general conditions that's going on that are communicated from these liaisons, once an investigation and evaluation is done, whatever the recommendation is from the oversight board should be enforced. Otherwise, what's the point of having a board if they ain't got no teeth to either, you know, have penalties for misconduct or be able to charge fees if these, private vendors aren't, upholding their end of the deal, or whether we have to refer it to another executive department, but our recommendations should be enforced. Otherwise, what's the point of having a board? Just to doing fake investigations and make fake recommendations? What's the point if these recommendations ain't being enforced? Uh, yeah, that part. Transparency and reporting. That's been the main problem. If the defense board's job, the detention facility oversight board's job, let's say the oversight board, if their job is to do investigations and make recommendations based off those investigations, how are they going to be able to do that if there's no transparency with what's going on in the jail? If they can't even get information from what's going on in the jail, how they going to do their job? There has to be transparency. We have to know what's going on. These liaisons should be paid staff. They already supposed to have paid staff, and right now the requirement is that you have a bachelor's degree or something like that. Obviously, having a bachelor's degree don't mean you're gonna do a good job, because it's been 3 years and they ain't even did one investigation. So the requirement to have a degree is frivolous. The requirement should be that you're engaged about this work, that you care about this work. That should be the requirement. And we should be able to go up in there and know what's really going on. Directly impacted people already know what's really going on, but to get firsthand information in real time, and specifically to be able to audit that budget, see how much money is getting spent where. Not only the city jail's budget from the city and how much money they're getting from the state, but how much commissions they're getting from these private vendors. This fund should be completely available to the board, and we should, like I said, we should be able to see them numbers, see exactly how much money they're getting and how it's getting spent, because it should be getting spent in ways that rehabilitate our people that's inside there. That's supposed to be the whole point of it. And so we need transparency with that because right now, even a professional accountant and investigator have problems trying to find this budget and trying to find these funds. So we need these funds to go in a specific account and that we have access to that we can see what's going on with it. Full public transparency. Uh, Again, the reports will detail the use of funds from commissions or vendor reinvestments to ensure financial transparency. All reports shall be made publicly accessible online, promote transparency and public trust. Reports will include details on investigations conducted, findings and outcomes to ensure accountability. A lot of people gonna say, "Well, that's already in the bill that that's already the what's supposed to be going on with the oversight board. That bill already got passed. Well, it ain't been happening. So this bill, it adds a little bit to the scope of the oversight board, but it reinforces like these are the points that we created a board for. The board was created 3 years ago, and these things are not happening yet. So this bill, reinforces that, uh, adds on to it. Enforcing penalties for noncompliance. Uh, like we said, you know, if these private vendors don't comply, if the commissioner of the jail, and I know we got a new commissioner, I think she'll, I ain't got a chance to meet her, talk to her yet, but I think she understands that, this is a priority of the community. Um, but if there's no compliance, there has to be a way for our issues to be enforced. There has to be penalties on the commissioner. Like I said, I know we're getting a new commissioner. I'm not trying to just shoot at the commissioner, nothing like that. I'm just saying like we have to have our issues enforced. If these private vendors are not compliant, then we have to be able to find them or have our recommendations given to an executive branch that can enforce what we're saying. Whether that means having their contracts voided, whether that means imposing financial penalties, or if whatever individuals are responsible, because a lot of times when it comes to government, these different departments, they all pass the ball to each other. You don't know whose fault it is. Well, who's responsible for this? Who's responsible for that? No, it needs to be completely transparent. Who exactly is responsible for this particular thing, as far as transparency with the budget, how much money they're getting for this particular fund, this inmate benefit fund, whatever we want to call it. Who in particular is responsible for this fund? And if we're not getting that transparency, then they as individuals are responsible. They should be able to get fired, fined, whatever the case may be. That's how you have transparency and accountability. Because if you just say, oh, well, it's this department and it's this person, it's that person, everybody passing the ball back and forth to each other, so it ain't nobody's fault. We ain't going for that. It got to be particular people that's in charge for particular duties, and if they're not upholding those duties, they are individually accountable. And that way we can have that accountability and transparency. Uh, and the board has to be funded properly to be able to do these things, to be able to contract, directly impacted people to go in as liaisons, because people should be paid fair wages to do this. Uh, so whether that's an increase in their budget, like I said, it could come from the commissions from these private vendors. It could come from a profit sharing, agreement that we come up with as far as this community benefit agreement with these private vendors, or from the city budget. But this is a priority that people have already said. This is a priority. So let's make that happen. And there it is. And I could elaborate a lot on the conditions that's going on within the jail and how to address these things. But I'm saying that for another time. But look forward to working with the oversight board and the commissioner around these issues.